Have you ever tried to play with a cat, but every time you try to get close, the cat runs away and stays far from you? Then you try again, but the cat keeps running away. When you try a third time, it runs off and vanishes. But later, when you're busy doing something else, the cat suddenly shows up, walks over to you, and even jumps into your lap. It's like when we try too hard to catch something or someone, they move away. But when we ignore them and focus on other things, they often come to us on their own. Sometimes working hard isn't the only way to succeed. There's this thing called the law of reverse effort. It says that in some situations, the more we try, the worse things get. But if we ease up and try less, things can actually get better. So achieving our goals isn't just about working hard. It's also about knowing when not to act. Being smart and skilled helps us figure out when to push forward and when to take a step back. This idea comes from looking at happiness in a different way. According to Mark Manson, who wrote a popular book, wanting to feel good all the time actually makes us feel worse. He says that being okay with feeling bad sometimes is what makes us truly happy. So the more we chase happiness, the less happy we become because we always feel like we're missing something. But if we're okay with how things are, we'll find the happiness we're searching for. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the law of reverse effort, but in a different context. Instead of focusing on happiness, we'll look at it in terms of achieving things and facing our fears. The idea of reverse effort was talked about by a writer named Aldous Huxley. He said that if we try too hard to do something, we actually become less successful. True skill comes from finding a balance between being active and relaxed. Huxley said the harder we consciously try to do something, the less likely we are to succeed. Success comes to those who can find the right balance between doing and not doing, between effort and relaxation. It's like letting go of control so that something bigger can take over. We can't force ourselves to understand things. We can only create the right conditions for understanding to happen. Think about someone who can't sleep, no matter how hard they try. The more they try, the more awake they feel. And the more awake they feel, the more frustrated they get, and the harder they try. But eventually they give up trying and accept that they can't sleep. Suddenly, without even trying, they fall asleep. Sleep is like that. You can't force it. Yet we often try really hard to fall asleep and it usually doesn't work out well. When you think about it, it's not surprising. Sleep is supposed to be super relaxing, so when we try so hard to relax, it's kind of the opposite of relaxing. Attraction is another thing that you can't force. You don't decide who or what you're attracted to, it just happens. Generally, being too clingy pushes people away, while being a bit elusive makes you more interesting. The more you chase after someone, the less they might like it. But if you stop chasing and become a bit mysterious, they might become more interested again. Sometimes when we try too hard to make something happen or to stop something from happening, it can actually make things worse. This smart guy, Viktor Frankl, who thought a lot about life and feelings, noticed that when we get super focused on making things turn out just right, or stop something bad from happening, we get really nervous ahead of time. And guess what? Often that nervousness makes a thing we're worried about happen anyway. Learning to drive a car can feel really frustrating. It takes lots of lessons and hours of practice for most people to get good at. For someone who's new, controlling a car, especially with traffic around, is really tricky and feels strange. If you're driving a manual car, you have to use 3 pedals to go faster, slow down, and change gears. Plus, you've got to use mirrors to see what's happening around you. It can seem almost impossible to get the hang of it, but with enough practice, suddenly you can find yourself doing it all automatically. Our conscious mind is pretty amazing, but sometimes it gets in the way of what Taoists called wu-wei, or the flow state. In this state, everything feels smooth and easy, like you're not even thinking about what you're doing. It's like when a dancer becomes a dance or a painter becomes a painting. Basketball player Bill Russell described it as playing in slow motion, where he could predict the next move without even trying. But as soon as we start thinking too much about what we're doing, we lose that flow state. That's why trying to control it or overthinking makes us hesitate. It seems like a lot of our actions come from somewhere deeper than just our conscious thoughts. Psychiatrist Carl Jung realized that our conscious mind is just a small part of our psyche, like the tip of an iceberg, while the unconscious mind is much bigger and hidden beneath the surface. According to Jung, there are lots of unconscious processes happening that our conscious mind doesn't even know about. Aldous Huxley talked about the difference between consciousness and the personal conscious, saying that we need to relax our personal conscious to let our broader self come through. Basically, we need to chill out the part of our mind that's always trying too hard, or thinking it knows everything. This allows the deeper parts of ourselves to work the way they're supposed to. It's like in any activity. The harder we try, the worse we tend to do. When Charles Bukowski was asked how he writes and creates, he said something interesting. You don't force it. You don't try too hard. This is crucial. Don't try too hard, whether it's for big rewards or fancy cars, creating something amazing or hoping to be remembered forever. Instead, you wait. And if something happens, you keep waiting. It's like watching a bug on the wall. You wait for it to come close enough, then you reach out and either squash it if you don't like it, or keep it as a pet if you do. In life, when we try too hard, things often go wrong. The more we chase after people we like, the more they run away. And the more we push to sell something, the fewer sales we usually make. But if we do nothing, we won't achieve anything either. So we're searching for a balance between doing something and doing nothing. Between making an effort and letting things happen naturally. On one hand, making an effort seems important to improve our skills. We need to practice, learn, think, understand, and analyze. But on the other hand, sometimes we need to relax and let our skills shine without overthinking. We have to quiet our minds and not to get in our way to perform at our best. As Aldous Huxley explained, many teachers, whether they're teaching piano, singing, golf, or spiritual exercises, emphasize the importance of relaxation alongside activity. It's like telling someone playing piano to relax their fingers while they're playing fast, which seems impossible but is necessary for peak performance. The flow state, where everything feels effortless and natural, seems to come with mental clarity and calmness, according to those who have experienced it. Athletes, musicians, singers, race car drivers, and martial artists often describe being in the zone, where they don't overthink or worry, they just go with the flow, as if they are part of the natural rhythm. So strangely enough, performing at our best means relaxing, not trying too hard, and letting things happen automatically. Or as Lao Tzu put it, can you stay calm and let the right action happen on its own? Thanks for listening.